Hey, I'm gonna do a little garden tour here. I post a lot of pictures and people seem to like the pictures a lot. And it's also fun to document and just be able to compare from year to year. And I figured doing a video would be a little bit better way to get a good view of the way things are going. And today is June 20th, so yeah, first day of summer. It's a good time to get a peek at what's going on. So you can see the way I have it set up, the perimeter is mostly herbs and like pollinator stuff, like native perennials. I got some echinacea and some milkweed, oregano, thyme, all that stuff. I'll just go ahead and come up and get close to it. I just kind of trimmed some of this stuff today. So start here, yeah. Some oregano. You can tell I had a really huge oregano bush there, and it's still pretty big. I trimmed it back a little bit. It's pretty easy to at least keep it at the edges, so I just let it do its thing. But if anybody ever wants any oregano, I got more than enough. And here's some cilantro that obviously is getting ready to go to seed. It reseeded itself from last year, and so I'll just let it keep doing that. I don't think I have to plant cilantro anymore. Pretty handy. Next to that, we got some nasturtiums that are starting to come up. And then bee balm just started flowering, looking pretty awesome. I'm already starting to see a bunch more bees and stuff flying around here. Be careful if you ever plant this stuff. Similar to the oregano, it likes to try to take over your garden, so I've definitely had to dig up a good amount of it. So, but you know, as long as I can keep it at the edge, I don't really care too much. More nasturtiums there, and then marigolds. I planted some marigolds earlier, and they were transplants that I'd started indoors, but didn't work out, so I just replanted some. Whatever, I got plenty of time. And next we got, I think that's echinacea, and then there's some milkweed. The milkweed had kind of gone a little bit out of control, so I had to pull a bunch of it out. Not flowering yet, but echinacea's getting ready. Looking pretty neat here. Yeah. And then more nasturtiums, more echinacea. And then, so you'll notice pretty much everything for the most part on one side is on the other side. So I have some thyme here. I had some thyme over here too, but it didn't work out. So I am trying to transplant some of that over there. We'll see if it works. But yeah, gotta like the thyme. And here's another oregano bush, not quite as crazy as the other one, but definitely more than enough. Next, some more nasturtiums. And then over here again, more marigolds that did not work out, so I just planted some seeds not too long ago. And more milkweed, getting a little bit closer to flowering than the other side did. You can see weird little bugs there. And then more nasturtiums, more echinacea. And inside here, some okra. It's the first time I've ever tried planting okra. I just thought it would be an interesting experiment. I just recently started eating okra a little bit more often. I was like, hey, I should try growing some of that. So I'm curious to see. It's a pretty cool looking plant. Some red lettuce. Again, I have tons of red lettuce. If anybody wants red lettuce, although it's bolting now, so probably not for too much longer. I did plant some more, and it's in the shade of this bee balm, so it might do well. So we'll find out. obviously a jungle of rainbow chard here, so I need to find some way to get rid of some of these greens. The kale also, the Russian kale and the scarlet kale is just kind of out of control. And lots of cilantro that, again, reseeded itself. Pretty soon I won't have to really plant too much in here anymore. It'll just kind of keep going. Next we got some cucumbers that have been kind of munched on by something. Hopefully they'll come back. And orach, or orach, actually, I think that's how you pronounce it. You can see the spinach that I had is bolted, so I still have some of this stuff, and I'm thinking I might try to get more planted. I don't know if it'll do as well if I start it at this point in the season, but you know, it's still cool to have that, and I have plenty of chard and kale, so it doesn't work out too bad. And then over here I got my tomato plants. Last year I did one tomato plant on each side of my garden, and this year I have 2 tomato plants on each side of my garden, so I'll have a lot. And these are the Atomic Grape tomatoes, so I'm pretty excited to see how many of those I get, because those were really tasty and they look really cool. They're like tie-dye colored pretty much. All, like, you know, pretty much every color of tomato that you can imagine mixed into one. And then next to it you got basil and parsley. And this mass of jungle over here is a bunch of grapes. So I have 2 grape plants. There's this one here, which is Somerset, and it barely, it dies, and then it somehow comes back from the dead. And so it's barely hanging on, but it's green and it's producing stuff, so maybe it'll come back and thrive. But this one here is a Concord seedless grape, and it's obviously doing really well. And you know, it's got lots of these little bunches of grapes on it. Oops, there we go. Yeah. And so I'm hoping this year I'm going to be smart and use some bird netting, you know, which worked out really good with the strawberries over here, which are done producing. But I'm going to use that bird netting and see if I can get a whole bunch. I mean, look at all these grapes, 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 grapes everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, more kale, 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 chard, kale, chard, collards, lettuce. Lettuce is bolting, so, and then beans too over there, if you didn't notice those. Just a little, you know, a little bit of the beans. I have way more of those at the Crescent Garden. That's another garden I have over at my brother's place. And so I'm not too worried about these, even though they're kind of taking a while to do much, but whatever. I'll have plenty of beans this year, for sure. And then there's the other tomato plants. And then that little raspberry bush there, it's starting to come up. Nothing too exciting yet, but I bet I'll get at least a few raspberries by the end of the fall. And then if we go over here, you can see pawpaws. So this is their second summer here, and they seem to be doing really good. Pretty excited to hopefully eventually get pawpaws. I doubt that they will fruit for another year or 2, maybe 3, but they look pretty happy. So yeah, they're a really neat plant. If you get up close, you can see the leaves are really huge. I mean, if I put my hand up there, you can see it's about as big as my hand. And I also planted some asparagus here, right there, just to make use of the space. I don't know, I might plant like some other kind of bush or something like that, more fruit bushes or something like that. And then over there, the neighbors, they have a mulberry tree that a white mulberry tree that hangs in my yard pretty much, most of the way, so I get mulberries. Awesome. And up here on the deck, I have blueberries. I just planted these this year. I tried last year some blueberry bushes that I got from Stark Brothers, and they didn't work out, and they sent me replacements, which is pretty awesome. So they seem like these ones are doing a lot better. And some rosemary, and then yeah. So then over here to front yard, you can kind of see over here, my aloe plants, that there's a banana tree. It just recently put out those giant leaves on top, and so I'm pretty excited about that. The rest of these are just house plants. They got lots of house plants, but you can also see from here, this is kind of like the view in my living room where I'm always looking at my garden. You can see my trees there, so I'll go ahead and head out there and get close to the trees. So here's some honeyberries. Pretty excited about these. I just planted them the other day, and they're supposed to taste like blueberries. I've never actually had them, but they supposedly are pretty easy to take care of, and so far they seem pretty happy. And I don't think that would be the case if I had planted the blueberries out here. So I think I might have to plant a bunch more of these. I'm pretty excited to see what they're like. And then over here, got my apricot. It's a Wilson apricot tree from Stark Brothers. And then in between the next tree, I have some, this plant is called purple leaf plum hedge or purple leaf sand cherry. I've heard it called a couple different things. It's starting to almost kind of turn green right now, but it's supposed to make these little plums or cherries. I don't know if they taste good or not, but the plant looks cool at least. So right here, I've got my Santa Rosa plum tree doing pretty good, and then in this corner, let's see if we can get a better view of it. This here is a Star Crimson sweet cherry tree, doing pretty good. Still no fruit. They're pretty young, but hopefully soon. And then over here, another purple leaf plum hedge. Still pretty small, but hopefully over time, I think they'll end up looking pretty cool. So yeah, those are, my gardens here. My other garden in Crescent is just getting started with all of its summer veggies, so I'll go ahead and do a tour over there at some point, but that's what this one's like. All right, ciao.